Joining me now, the political commentator and Labour activist Owen Jones. Thanks for being with us. We're now in a situation where everybody is saying we need to make clear our position on anti-Semitism. Why is this story not going away, do you think?
Well, look, the horror of anti-Semitism is one of the great horrors of human history. It didn't exist suddenly in 1933 and vanish in 1945. 2,000 years of pogroms, of expulsions, of blood libel, culminating in the Shoah with industrialised extermination attempted of the entire Jewish people, and decades ever since continued anti-Semitism. There was a minority on the left who exhibit anti-Semitic attitudes, and there needs to be a ceaseless and uncompromising war to turf them out. There is no point. I mean, the very DNA, the very mission of the left, of the Labour Party, of socialism, is an uncompromising war against all forms of bigotry, exploitation and oppression. By definition, anybody who exhibits racism and anti-Semitism has forfeited their right to be on the left. And I have to say just quickly, that's why it's so welcome that Jeremy Corbyn issued that statement earlier in the week, probably the most uncompromising statement against anti-Semitism issued by any Labour leader, calling himself a militant opponent of anti-Semitism, talking about the subtleties, the tropes of anti-Semitism. The Chakrabarti report, which has been delayed by officialdom, I'm afraid to say, within the Labour Party.
Well, hang on, that's an easy thing to say, isn't it? Officialdom have delayed it, and I heard John McDonnell, the Shadow Chancellor, say that. Jeremy Corbyn is the leader of the Labour Party. If he wants something to happen in the Labour Party, it can happen.
That doesn't work. I know you seem to present him as some sort of all-powerful czar within the Labour Party. No. The Labour Party, that's not how Labour Party structures work.
No, forgive me, I've watched the Labour Party for more than 25 years. I know enough about the Labour Party.
I spend my life...
I know you do, but my point is this. A Labour leader is an effective Labour leader by using the opportunities they have, and the membership of the Labour. He has a majority, his supporters are a majority of the ruling National Executive.
Right, they've been a majority for a matter of weeks. And on that, just quickly, the new General Secretary, Jenny Formby, has made it clear one of her defining missions now is to root out anti-Semitism.
So this will now happen. Absolutely. Why then, if that is the case, why are people like, for example, Sir David Gerrard saying, look, they no longer recognise Labour Party? He's been, not saying whether he's been a donor or not since the new Labour days, he's been a Labour Party member for decades, he says.
What, the donor who's just left?
Yes, that's what he says.
The one who's walked away, a former donor to Thatcher, who's not paid a single penny towards the Labour Party since Jeremy Corbyn has been leader.
So you're saying he's just a
just quickly, during the general election, he even talked about setting up a new centrist party. It's no surprise. Look, that doesn't deflect on the need to take on anti-Semitism. I spoke at a Momentum event last week, Portsmouth, massive crowd, and called for an uncompromising war against anti-Semitism and got a huge applause. Not just applause, people whooped over it. So just on this though, the Sunday Times splash is not journalism. And the fact you're leading on this, I think, says a lot.
Well, we're not leading on the Sunday Times splash.
You were earlier, I watched that.
Well, I don't know what was happening. I'm saying that's what we're leading on now. We're talking about Eddie Izzard, who is the newest member of the NEC, who is saying something has to be done about this.
Good. Of course.
So what then can the party do to change the narrative? Because you know, forgive me, you know politics much better than I do as a political columnist. You would accept, wouldn't you, that perception is something that can do a lot of damage to political parties. How does Jeremy Corbyn change the perception of Labour?
Firstly, those in the Labour Party, including the Labour leadership, anti-racism was one of their defining causes. In the 1980s, they were portrayed as the loony left, politically correct, shutting down free speech because of their anti-racism.
What has that got to do with the anti-Semitism?
It's to do with the fact that there's an attempt to link the minority, the despicable minority, who will be drummed out of the Labour movement and the left, the anti-Semites, the bigots, who have nothing to do with socialism, to link that to the Labour leadership. You know what's happening. You know what that front page splash is all about. I'll give you an example. That Sunday Times splash, because you were leading on it the last hour. I did watch, by the way. And
I'm not disputing what may have been done earlier. What I'm saying to you is, isn't the story of the Sunday Times, presumably if the Sunday Times had found any evidence that linked an individual to it, they would have gone on that. No, they didn't find that.
What they did is went on Facebook groups with tens of thousands of members, with hundreds of thousands of posts, millions probably of comments cumulatively, found despicable racist and anti-Semitic comments, then tried to link that to the fact that there were people within the leader's office who were the most committed anti-racists I've probably ever met. Look, I've got an example here, just to show how these splashes work. This so-called journalism, okay? Where's your camera? This is Conservatives Against the EU. It's a Facebook group. It is full of the most despicable racism I've ever seen.
Presumably the Conservative Party would reject
about Gina Miller, for example, F off you foreigner, telling them to go back to your homeland.
Fine,
despicable racism. You're not making that. Why isn't that? Why is that?
Because presumably Labour is the story at the moment. But why is they not able to change the narrative?
That's the point.
What do you think Jeremy Corbyn now has to do to change the narrative? Just briefly.
Just quickly on that.
Briefly, if you know.
Well, there has to be the implementation of the Chakrabarti report. and to root out any member. That's what the leadership has said. But I'm not going to take lessons from supporters of the Conservative Party's Foreign Secretary says things like pickaninnies with watermelon smiles about black people. He says about gay people that we have...
We're not doing an interview about Boris Johnson.
No,
but
you're not going to focus on that. Look, the amount of abuse the likes of Diane Abbott, a lifelong anti-racist, one of the most senior members of Labour's leadership, she got more than half of all online abuse during the election of any MP, often from Tory supporters and Tory members. There's no story about that. I get called every single day online,
Owen Jones.
a faggot by, for example, Tory...
We're going to leave it there because there's obviously a lot we could talk about in terms of abuse, both online and in the media. Thank you very much for being with us. The British box